Fast 100 megabits per second internet for just $19.99 a month for 12 months. Call 844-500-3623 or visit breezeline.com to sign up today. Service subject to availability. Speed is stated for download only.
The Hollywood Arts Park Experience presents Dumpsta-Funk, Saturday, March 12th at 8 p.m. at the Hollywood Arts Park in downtown Hollywood. Dumpsta-Funk, featuring bandleader Ivan Neville, is a New Orleans powerhouse and is known for their distinctive mix of funk, old school R&B, and guitar-fueled modern rock. This event is free and sponsored by the City of Hollywood CRA. More information at rhythmfoundation.com.
The breaking news tonight, new satellite images show that 40-mile-long convoy north of has dispersed and redeployed, moving rocket launchers and towed artillery into local fields and wooded areas. The question is what to make of it, which is why we're glad we can turn to retired Army four-star general and former CIA director David Petraeus. General Petraeus, appreciate you joining us. What is your reaction to these new images? What do you make of what that convoy is doing?
Well, it's really just adhering to normal standards that they should have been adhering to all along. The standards to which our soldiers train is that when you stop, you don't stay on a road, you don't stay visible to anything from the air, you pull into cover, whether it is into trees or whatever you can find. You certainly don't stay, again, exposed the way that they were for so many days. It was really, again, staggering that happened. And you saw in the footage that you're showing right now, in fact, another case where an armored battalion is caught in the open, apparently by a drone that appears to be filming this, may have been directing the fire as well. And again, it's sort of unconscionable that this would happen. They're also bunched together, as you can see. You would always want to stay much farther apart than that. And so, again, these are basic standards that clearly have not been established, and they're certainly not performing in accordance with what normal standards would be for our forces.
You know, Clarissa Ward was talking about the defenses which are everywhere in a city like Kyiv, on every street, hedgehogs, dig pits on sides of roads. And obviously we know about the Molotov cocktails that have been dispersed, and obviously the shoulder-fired weaponry and the other weaponry that the U.S. and others have sent in. Given that, is it likely Russian forces are just going to try to level these cities before actually going in? Because you've talked about before, they don't have enough troops to really adequately undertake block-by-block urban combat.
No, that's correct. And as we discussed before, it's also incredibly physically demanding and mentally draining. The bottom line now, I'm starting to think, Anderson, they won't even be able to encircle Kyiv. Again, that blow struck against an armor regiment. And by the way, the Russian in that clip that you played earlier is actually also reporting that the regimental commander was killed. That's an extraordinary blow. And you add that to the other casualties, the other losses of armor and personnel and so forth. You just can't keep sustaining that kind of loss. And the column from the east in particular, which is where this was ambushed, is so long and so vulnerable, given the logistical lines that were required for that, that there's just no way, I don't think, that they're going to be able to sustain their forces coming from that direction, which means they probably can't get around to the south and really close the city off, which could be very, very good news for Kyiv, in the sense that at least it could be resupplied, even if the Russians try to lay siege to it from the other directions, from the north and to a degree from the west. But as you noted, again, what they will do is back off, and they're just going to rubble the city block by block. But normally you would need to move in at least to have observation of the fire, although they've certainly done lots of indiscriminate fire, as we've seen into Mariupol in particular. And that situation, I think, has to be the one that's really eating at the President Zelensky, his Minister of Defense, the Chief of the General Staff, trying to figure out any way they could to lift that siege, to break through to Mariupol, to restore the basic services and so forth. But it's pretty clear they just don't have the reserves to do that, even though they've also stopped the Russians around Kharkiv. And that thrust that was discussed earlier from Crimea towards Odessa, it is stopped at a city called Mykolaiv, where the mayor is an absolute hero. He's turning into a real battlefield general and organizing an extraordinary defense. And if they've already rigged the bridges for destruction, if they can't get across that river, they have to go much farther to the north and then down to the southwest to Odessa. And again, there's no way they'll maintain those logistical lines.
With Mariupol, which is a city, it seems critical for Russian forces from their perspective to take for future reasons, they've allegedly, according to U.S. senior defense official, they've encircled it. Would it be possible for? I mean, is the same thing at play there, that to actually occupy that city, to move in, would be extremely difficult for Russian forces? Or I mean, it's a much smaller city, obviously, than Kyiv.
Yeah. No, I think what they're trying to do there, Anderson, is literally starve it into submission. The water is cut off, the power is cut off. Very, very desperate situation. You showed how bodies aren't even, you can't even do proper burials for bodies at this point in time. And so what they're going to do is starve it until it submits, until the officials there in charge surrender. I assume is their hope, because of course that will then enable them to complete the land bridge from Crimea to the Donbass, the area of southeast. So they will have denied that entire portion of the coast to Ukraine. And so it's really a matter of time, unless the Ukrainians can figure out how to break that siege somehow and get supplies in, restore basic services and so forth. And I'm sure that that is the issue that is really bedeviling them. And as always, commanders allocate shortages. You never have enough of anything. And so what they may have to do is reallocate some forces from somewhere else where they seem to be doing better than perhaps they had feared when the plan was developed initially, to try to get down there. Otherwise, at some point in time, that will become the first major city in Ukraine to fall. It will also free up those forces that are encircling it to some degree, at least. And that could be a problem elsewhere as well.
General, just one final question. Just from a perspective of a guerrilla fight or insurgent fight, how effective is a Molotov cocktail? Because clearly there are a lot of them around here, and I know they have an accelerant inside to make them stickier. One person here was telling me that against a tank or an armored vehicle, that those are closed systems that do have air intake, and that if you throw it at the air intake, it essentially smokes out the people inside the tank. Is that true?
Well, again, we have some views about the Russian systems that so far aren't proving true. I mean, they're much less well equipped than we believed. And again, to believe that those systems work as advertised probably is worth at least asking about. What you really need to do is get the hatches to pop somehow. And the normal way that that's done, and even our tanks going into Baghdad, they could get swarmed. And if the infantry is not around them to keep the enemy infantry off, in this case, perhaps guerrillas, insurgents, you can have a problem at some point in time. But what you really want to do, obviously, is get the Molotov cocktail inside the tank turret. And to do that, you've obviously got to get them to pop those hatches. And again, there are various ways. You could also perhaps, depending on how exposed the engine grates are and so forth, there are places that are flammable, and that's what you're going to have to do with that. Against thin-skinned vehicles, they can be devastating, and there are other circumstances in which they can be very valuable. But what you really have to do is swarm. And what we've seen, as we discussed earlier as well, Russians have been very poor at achieving combined arms effects. They send tanks alone without infantry, infantry alone without tanks, no engineers around them to help them with obstacles and so forth, and not supported by artillery creeping along in front, the fire along in front of them as required. So again, they could be very vulnerable. Or, as you saw, if they're out in the open and either ground or air observation can identify them, then the right forces can be brought to bear, as they were very impressively on that road. Again, you can't sustain that kind of loss day by day and still have combat effective forces.
No. General David Petraeus, it's fascinating. I appreciate your expertise. Thank you.
Pleasure, Anderson. Thanks.
Up next, thanks to a surrogate in Ukraine, you're going to meet an American man who's a dad, and now he's giving back to the country that helped him, what he's doing to help refugees coming across the border into Poland, coming up.
I do Sugar Ray Leonard's feet.
Don't have time for cold or flu?
I don't have time for the cold or the flu.
We're here to help with easy, convenient online check-in, virtual visits, or walk-in care. When you don't have time to be sick, feel better faster at Holy Cross Urgent Care. With 2 convenient locations in Fort Lauderdale and Coral Springs, open 7 days a week with extended hours from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. weekdays and 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. weekends. No appointment necessary. For more information, visit holycrossurgentcare.com.
The Hollywood Arts Park Experience presents Dumpsta-Funk, Saturday, March 12th at 8 p.m. at the Hollywood Arts Park in downtown Hollywood. Dumpsta-Funk, featuring bandleader Ivan Neville, is a New Orleans powerhouse and is known for their distinctive mix of funk, old-school R&B, and guitar-fueled modern rock. This event is free and sponsored by the City of Hollywood CRA. More information at rhythmfoundation.com.
Macy's One Day Sale has great deals of the day, like 60% off cookware from Martha Stewart Collection, Sedona, and more. Pick out some new Sparkle with 60% off select Effie Fine jewelry. Then add designer suits to his rotation, now 50 to 60% off. Plus, Star Rewards members earn rewards even faster during Macy's Star Money Bonus Days, starting tomorrow. Savings off sale and clearance prices, exclusions apply.
Your happiest spring starts with Lowe's, and it all starts with a beautiful green lawn. Get it growing with Scott's Triple Action Lawn Fertilizer, starting at $29.98. And keep it clean with the Craftsman 20-volt mower with free blower for only $2.99. That's a big value for a beautiful entrance. Create a season full of happiness. Lowe's, home to any budget, home to any possibility. Selection varies by location. While supplies last, about $310 for $316. U.S. only. Scott's offer excludes Alaska and Hawaii.
Bundling car and renter's insurance with Geico is so easy, your neighbors are probably already doing it. So why not ask? Just say,
"Hey, did you get your haircut? It looks cool. Also, have you saved even more by bundling with Geico?"
Or maybe,
"Hey, did you get your haircut? It looks weird. Not weird, cool. Anyway, have you bundled with Geico?"
Or try,
"Hey, did you get your haircut? It doesn't look weird at all. Anywho, have you saved by bundling with, hey, easy with that rake."
Bundling is easy with Geico. Just ask your neighbors.
When you switch to Frontier Gig Service, you don't have to worry about your internet dropping out at the worst possible times. And you can talk to friends and present in work meetings without sounding like this. Seriously, no more of that nonsense. Do what cable can't. Upgrade to Frontier Gig Service on our 100% fiber network for $69.99 and get a $200 Visa reward card on us. Exclusive offer for qualified households only. Go to frontier.com/FLFiber for complete offer details. Service is subject to availability and all applicable terms and conditions.
Membership fees apply after free trial. Cancel anytime.
Can I be real for a second? That goal you have to exercise and eat better, you really can do it. But nobody is going to do it for you. And nobody has to, because you can do it if you have the right tools and a community that cares about helping you get results. And that's us, Beachbody. It's as convenient as your TV or laptop, but you need to decide that you're worth it. Let us help you succeed. Here's how. Go to beachbody.com to claim your free membership and start feeling great.
In business, days don't just come and go. Every day counts. Whatever your day brings, with Comcast Business, you'll have the solutions you need to make the most of it. Like the power of the network that can deliver gig speeds to the most businesses, the freedom to control your network from anywhere, and advanced cybersecurity to help protect every device on it. Every day in business is a big day. We'll keep you ready for what's next. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Restrictions apply. Actual speeds vary. Call for details.
Vice President Harris today pledged support for Ukrainian refugees during her trip to Warsaw, Poland. This as the UN estimates more than 2 million people have fled Ukraine. They've escaped the violence, but life for refugees, of course, is not easy as they leave behind everything without knowing when they'll return, often with little more than a bag or two. Our next guest is an American who lives in Spain. He has a child who was born via surrogate in Ukraine in 2020. He wanted to help the people of Ukraine and traveled to Poland to book Airbnbs for refugee families and offer them rides and really, frankly, to do whatever he could. David Walzer is his name, and he joins us tonight. David, I want to start with your connection to Ukraine. You live in both San Francisco and Barcelona. Your daughter, Daisy, was born just about 2 months before my son Wyatt was born. She was born to a Ukrainian surrogate. Can you talk a little bit about your decision to come to the border and help? Because I understand she was born actually in Kharkiv.